After many hours and deaths that have gone into me playing Silksong, I finally was able to beat the game. It took a while. It really did take its toll on me. I was losing my goddamn mind every fucking moment of this game because of how difficult it was to get there. But I persevered and I was able to finally beat it. At least that's what I thought. Turns out there's a third act, which I didn't unlock yet because I was so focused on getting through the game as much as I could and just going through everything. I didn't do all the wishes, which you have to do in order to get to the third and, true ending. So I'm gonna be doing that on my own time and trying to get that true ending because there's just so much in this game. It's filled with so much lore. The map is insanely huge. The enemies are tough. It is just an insane challenge that I really enjoy whenever I played it. I know whenever I was streaming it here, I was losing my mind. I was so mad every so often just because of how big the difficulty level was compared to Hollow Knight. So I want to get into a couple things about that just so I can kind of give my own little review here and talk about the negatives and the positives. So I'll go straight into the positives. Soundtrack, fucking amazing. From start to finish, throughout the whole game, it was an amazing soundtrack with all the bosses. I really enjoyed it. It was really well made and put together. So I was very happy about that. All the music went hard every single time a boss came up, and you knew that you were in for a hell of a time whenever that music came on. It's like that meme from Sea of Thieves where someone was all freaking out because they heard boss music. That's what this shit was fucking like, because I knew I was gonna be in for a big challenge, especially with the bosses, and I thought the bosses were really cool. I really enjoyed how they all had their own unique shtick. It was really fun trying to find the layout for each boss as I encountered them. I had to adjust my playing. I had to figure out certain timing. It was without a doubt Hollow Knight at its core, especially if you played Hollow Knight before and you did like all the Pantheon stuff. That's the kind of vibe that I got from every single boss here, because the difficulty from Hollow Knight went from like a 10 and they jacked that shit up to like a 20. So it really gives a lot of people the opportunity to do a lot in this game, and it teaches you how to adapt every so often, which I thought was really cool. I liked how they did that. And the big thing that I really enjoyed, the animation was beautiful. They stuck to the core of the Hollow Knight art style. They didn't go for anything different, which I'm really glad they did, and they built upon that by making things look a lot smoother. It really worked well whenever you're exploring the world, since the combat in Hollow Knight was so simple compared to what you're doing in this game. I like how they implemented that to where everything you do was so fluid. It kind of felt like you were floating most of the time, just because of how smooth everything was. So I was very happy to see that. I was able to get a bit more precision out of stuff, which was already hard on its own. So that was a nice little touch that they did, even though it was so difficult. Now, let's go into the major stuff that I know everyone is talking about. Obviously, one of the big ones is the difficulty. So, like Hollow Knight, your health is shown by masks, and in Hollow Knight, it was usually one mask per hit. That was pretty standard, straightforward. But this game decided to double that damage, especially early on, which in Hollow Knight, I'm pretty sure that feature wasn't implemented until the last half of the game, where everything was buffed even higher because the enemies got stronger. Even the littlest bastards that were flying around all over the place, or just really tiny insignificant enemies, especially at the beginning of the game, they did 2 hits of damage, and it was so hard to find masks in order to gain more health for me that I was just in near impossible mode every single time. Whenever I did the stuff on my own, I went ahead and looked for more masks. I kind of looked it up just to see where all these things were, just because I was getting so pissed off by dying so fast that I needed to find some ways to give myself a little bit of a handicap, because it's a big challenge. There's almost no room for error, especially when you're playing this game, because it takes a lot of precision and patience in order to figure things out. That's the one thing. And I know there's a mod going around right now that people are able to lower the difficulty to where it's 1 mask per hit rather than it just being the 2. I didn't go for that just because I wanted to experience this game as it was, and I wanted to just feel like a badass for beating a boss, even though it was doing 2 hits of damage all the time. So that's one complaint I had. but after a while you kind of get used to it, and once you got better at the game, it didn't really become that hard. It just became more of the idea of figuring out what to do and deciding how you're going to adapt to that situation. So there was that. Next thing, the down attack. Early on, that shit was messing with me all over the place, especially because parkouring is a very big part in this game. There's like a parkour stage almost every section of this game, so you have to deal with the down attack where you're at an angle, and if you're wrong, you go just flying off into the void, or even worse, you hit a pit of spikes, especially if you're on like 1 or 2 masks and you end up dying. It was so difficult. I was losing my mind. And thankfully, there was a way to fix that, because once you get to mid game, you're able to go start unlocking crests all over the place. If you don't know what crests are, or I'm sure a lot of people do, but crests are the ways that you can attack things differently. So you kind of have like a heavy attack, you have your standard ones, and there was a crest that allowed you to do the regular pogoing that you did in Hollow Knight, which I was happy about. I found that, and it made the game so much easier on me. So that problem was fixed. I'm glad they at least kept that in there, so that way I wasn't losing my mind. And I can see the reason why they did that in the first place. This game is all about skill, and I know they wanted to increase the difficulty and make things a little bit more challenging to the player, which I can definitely respect. Hollow Knight was never really an easy game to begin with. I think they want to give the players a real big challenge, especially with how anticipated this game was. They wanted to give, a rewarding factor for playing the game and going through all the stages. So after I was able to get the crest, problem was fixed. It's like a complaint early on, especially if you're trying to get through stuff, but once you get that crest, then everything is just totally fine. And I thought the crests were a really nice touch. This is more of a positive side, but it really gives the player the ability to have their own unique play style, because whenever you get the charms and everything, you're able to add certain effects to whenever you're healing or you're floating, and you also have the throwables that you can use. It allows you to kind of change around the way you're gonna attack. So I had the one where like the bell that saves you whenever you're healing puts a shield up. That came in handy so much. I was using that thing like crazy because I was always in such a weird spot whenever I was trying to heal, and it made things a little bit more difficult. And there's the other thing I want to talk about. It's the silk that you get whenever you're hitting enemies. The way it was in Hollow Knight was you can kind of heal multiple times, but the way that this game works, you aren't able to heal unless you get a full strand of silk, which can be a little bit off-putting to some people. I know it's a bit of a struggle, especially when you're trying to evade as much as you can and try and get the most optimal hit in. So that was another complaint that I had, but after I upgraded a bit, it wasn't too bad. So there wasn't really too many complaints. Usually, mainly the ones that I had were pretty early game, but after a while you kind of get a better feel for it and change the way you play as time goes on. So you can either get used to it or try something else, which I really, really liked. And one last little thing I want to talk about is just whenever you fight a bunch of enemies and you're so low on health and you fight a boss that takes you a while to get to, it becomes really annoying, especially when you die all the time. And that was the other thing too. Whenever I was stuck at a boss, I'd always have to go back to a certain area and then backtrack everywhere I went, because some of the benches were a little bit spaced out. It made things a little bit harder to travel. So it was more annoying than it was pissing me off, but other than that, I still had fun with the game. Overall, though, I think this game does live up to the hype. I was really enjoying it. I'm still enjoying it. I'm playing it all on my off time, and I want to get to that third act, especially because I get to unlock the Abyss. So, is Hollow Knight Silksong a good game? I would definitely say it is. I think everyone should play it. They should support Team Cherry, especially for the $20 price tag. That's freaking insane. It took me, like 35 hours to finish everything out, and I'm not even done with everything. That's crazy. So I really enjoyed it. There are some things that I think are going to be a little bit off-putting to newer players if they never played Hollow Knight, which I really think you should play Hollow Knight first before you play this game, especially if you want to get that curve going for the combat. But everything from the characters to the soundtrack and everything in between was just so well made. It's a beautiful game, and it probably will be my game of the year going forward. That's pretty much it for me. I just wanted to give my review on Hollow Knight Silksong. It's an amazing game. Wow. But it's not for the faint of heart, so keep that in mind. So other than that, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll talk to you later. See ya.